We're going to go over the top 5 quarterbacks in Ole Miss history. And yes, Archie Manning made my list.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis, host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and he is Josh Guest. He comes on every week to tell us what's going on in the Oxford, North Mississippi area, and we have a good time talking Ole Miss sports and going all about and all of that stuff. How you doing, Josh?
Doing well, Stephen. You can tell I'm bundled up. It's a little chilly in my office, but I'll take chilly over hot.
Yeah, it is weird to see a beanie, honestly, right now, because my pool temperature is like 95 degrees down here in Florida right now. My pool temperature is in the mid-80s at that point. So we're completely in summer at this point, and you're wearing a beanie.
Yeah, just my office. If I go outside, shorts and a T-shirt's fine. I walked 7 miles yesterday, and I was fine in the shorts and a T-shirt. Got kind of hot, actually. But, yeah, in my office, it's just cold. And mainly it's just my ears. If I sit in here with the cold air blowing in my ears, it doesn't end up well. So that's sort of the genesis behind the beanie on my head right now. So,
well, speaking of getting cold, the next time it gets cold will be in the fall. And in the fall, by the time it gets cold, we will be probably thinking a lot about that football season. So the question, I was thinking when I was like, hey, I'm going to talk to Josh Guest today. And it's like, what do I need to ask him? And it's like, what about football season has your attention, man?
Well, of course, I'll be set up in the Grove on home games. That'll be fun. But the team itself, the season, what do we look like when we go to LSU? Are we unbeaten? Can we go down there and win? What's the Georgia game at home going to look like? Are we going to be able to actually give them a game this year and not just get run over? The roster would say so. Oklahoma comes to town. Those probably are 2 toughest games. No disrespect to going on the road to LSU, but as one of your guests said, Jaden Daniels ain't walking back through that door. And so, nothing against whomever else they have, but he ain't Jaden Daniels. He's a kind of generational guy. The big thing, Lane said it. It's a great roster. Can it be a great team? How do they gel? How do they mold? It looks like there's a lot of buy-in, and you can see it on the side over there. We're going to talk about top quarterbacks in Ole Miss history, and that factored into where I ranked certain people in my list, on that. But I just feel like there's a good chance for the chemistry to be there. I think the fact that we've made it as far as we've made it, and we're past that jump in the portals phase. I think if the chemistry had been too poorly set up for the team, there'd have been a lot of people jump in. So I'm really hoping there's going to be a lot of buy-in, a lot of people playing for other people, and not thinking, oh, well, Dart's up for the Heisman. We don't want to do this because he's getting all the – no. I think the whole team has a lot of attention. I think all the different position groups have a lot of attention. So I think just the anticipation of watching them go out there, hopefully gelling and being a very formidable unit is what I'm looking most forward to. And can we, what is the excitement going to look like? Because I've only done this whole Grove thing for a couple of years with the radio. I've been in the Grove before, but people walk by, people get excited, people come by and say things. So what's it going to be like if we're 8-0 or 10-0 or whatever, 10-1, or we have a home playoff game? Holy cow. What is it going to feel like in town, the Grove, the campus, the stadium? What's it going to be like? So just all those what ifs and that anticipation is just really, really, really fun right now.
That Georgia game, if Ole Miss can get it to that game undefeated, and it probably doesn't even matter if Georgia loses to Texas early in the season, but if Ole Miss gets to that game undefeated, there'll be 500,000 people in that town. That place is going to be a nuts that weekend.
Yeah, it'll be. I may have to walk from my house to the Grove that day, or to the radio station to get the van. I may have to pack the stuff up on my back and walk it into town from the station. Who knows? It's going to be insanity. But I want to see it. I want to see what it's like. I want to feel it. I think it'll be palpable in the air. The what the excitement, the tension, everything about it if we are.
Is your baseball road trip to LSU still on?
Well, Stephen, actually, it's been called off. My son's baseball banquet is during Game 3, so we don't want to miss that. The whole family can go, kind of thing. So we've had to kind of scale back. We won't know, obviously, if we have to win 2 more games to go to. When this airs, actually, we could be, if either team sweeps, we'll know who the North Half champion is. But we do play for the North Half starting. Friday night was the first game, Saturday night second game, and Monday if necessary. But no matter at this point who wins what, because of the banquet, we've decided to call it. And you'd have to miss school. We wanted to go. We wanted to make it work, but it's just not going to logistically work out at this point. So we'll have to catch Alex Box in another year.
Anyway, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen. When we come back, Josh Guest is going to give me his top 5 quarterbacks in Ole Miss history. But first, I do want to let you know that Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even easier and faster. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and the lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. They have views from all the seats. A couple of weeks back, I went and saw the Tigers play the Tampa Bay Rays, and I wanted to see that lovely left-handed swing from the major league level. I was able to do that and find a place to sit perfectly from the views from the seat feature on their app. They do have the lowest price guarantee, though. Cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. The terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks to exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is always guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all of that screaming and shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you each and every single day to bring you the biggest stories without all of that screaming and shouting. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, all streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so it's Josh Guest's turn to sit in the hot seat. This week's question is the top 5 quarterbacks in Ole Miss history. And the way this works, just so everybody knows, all my guests, we go from 5 down to 1, and we figure out who their picks are and who they would rate to be a top quarterback in Ole Miss history. So we're going to start with number 5, the number 5 top quarterback in Ole Miss history.
Stephen, this was hard. Even last week was SEC coaches. That has all the teams. This is all Ole Miss stuff and quarterback. This was hard. And so again, as I did last week with the coaches, I kind of went sentimental, my own personal thing. And probably, I don't know, most people probably won't have him in there. I'm going Romero Miller. I saw Romero play in high school, and it was a rainy night in the playoffs, and he destroyed the team I was watching. On route to, at the end, I think it was a record for the total number of yards in a career when he finished that season. But it was in the rain. He was throwing dimes all over the field. And so I went with Romero. I was also, taking pictures on the field when he was at Ole Miss. Got to see him beat State 45-30 in the rain in an Egg Bowl in Oxford. I believe that was the score. And so I just went with Romero at number 5, and I know I'm going to leave some people off that people are going to be like, how'd you leave them off? But anyway, Romero Miller's my number 5.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, I went with Bo Wallace. 4 and 5 were hard in my opinion. The top 3 were kind of the top 3, but from 4 down to like 9, holy cow, how do you pick 2 of them? And so I went with Bo Wallace. He sort of got things started. He beat Bama. There was the play, I think it was the 3rd or 4th down play where he threw it between an Alabama defender's arms that were reached up. I mean, like it just happened. I mean, otherwise, if that ball gets batted, it's a whole different story. Then we had the Sinquez Golson interception and all that stuff. But I went with Bo Wallace. He was a 3-year starter. He was here for a while. And so, he sort of got the current – I know we kind of lulled for a minute, but he kind of got the current where we're at started, so to speak. And so I went with Bo Wallace at number 4.
Number 3.
All right, I'm going to go Archie at number 3, and that's going to draw some ire from some folks. Archie's sort of the iconic guy that's always been there, and 18-mile-an-hour speed limit on campus, and so Archie, and he just did things during his time that people just didn't do. And so he's still the old tape and everything is fun to see of him and running around. Even some of the Saints tape, even though the Saints were terrible, he still did things that were almost not human on the field sometimes. So that was fun to see. But I have him at number 3, and I'll tell you why when we get to number 2.
Number 2,
which I put Jackson Dart at number 2 right now, and because of how the defensive players especially are talking about how he helped recruit them. And I just think that's a special thing. I know there's all this technology and people, play video games together and do things on the phone, and they're connected in ways that you haven't been connected in the past. But just the fact that he put the effort in to do such a thing and that they recognized it. And that's also why I feel pretty good about the possibility of good chemistry for this team because of how involved he is and how, people talk about wide receivers or divas. Well, a lot of times the quarterbacks, especially if they're on a list like Eli was on, like he's on, Jackson with Heisman, a lot of people get upset because they want some attention themselves because in their own right, they're great players. And so I think the fact that Jackson is such you've talked about it, the way he leads and the way people want to follow and how involved he's been, that's ultimately why I put him at 2. And you got a chance to fall back down to number 3 behind Archie or jump up number 1 after it's all said and done this year. But I got him at number 2 right now.
Number 1.
Eli. Of course, I mean, again, Eli was here. That was part of my time at Ole Miss and some of those things. And so just the things that Eli did and again, not to knock the rest of the team, but even with the teams he had some good players, but the teams that Ole Miss had during Eli's day don't compare to what we have just in the last few years even. And so, how calm and cool and collected Eli was. And it was great, of course, to see him win 2 Super Bowls and not only win 2 Super Bowls, but against arguably the GOAT, Tom Brady. And then, of course, to poke the fun saying he didn't want to roast him a 3rd time. That's always fun, too. But Eli, again, how calm, cool, and collected he was under pressure. And he always seemed to just, rise up to the occasion, especially when he was here at Ole Miss. So I got Eli Manning at number 1.
All right, so we'll do the honorable mention portion of this and figure out if there's any particular reason why they're not on there, but Chad Kelly.
Chad Kelly is on my list of ones I didn't put on there, and it boiled down to I really wanted to put Bo Wallace and Romero Miller on there, and so Chad, Matt Corral, Jordan Ta'amu, Charlie Connerly, Jake Gibbs, they all are right there, that next 5 out, so to speak. But yeah, the 2, of course, recent bias, Chad Kelly, Matt Corral. Matt Corral was one of the most accurate quarterbacks I've ever seen throw a football, in my opinion.
You're not saying Rush Showers. I have not heard your name one time. His name.
Yeah, I mean, Rush was probably he was probably 11 or 12 on my list somewhere. He went in the next 5 out.
The funny thing is, that's one of my go-tos, by the way, whenever my younger guests like Dalen and something like that, I always bring up Rush Showers on that because there's no way. Rush Showers played at Ole Miss like 10 years before he was born.
That's right.
Yeah. So thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Josh Guest, thank you very much for coming on the show, man. And you take care. And hey, good luck with state, right?
That's right. And hotty toddy. And yes, hopefully we make it to Pearl. Hopefully we make it to Pearl.
Yeah, I'll be rooting for you to play at Trustmark, man.
That's right.
Take care. Hotty toddy, bub.
All right. Hotty toddy.